You're ready, Greg. I'll unmute you.
Very good. Welcome, good evening. This is the April meeting of the Northborough Conservation Commission. My name is Greg Young. I'm the chair of the commission. And pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and signed into law on March 28th, 2025, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. All members of the Northborough Conservation Commission are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Northborough Conservation Commission to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dan Clark.
Here.
Todd Helwig.
Here.
John Johnson. John Johnson.
Present.
And Sadie Stone.
I'm here. I'm so sorry. I was having issues connecting.
Thank you, Sadie. You made it. That's good. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Vincent Vignali.
Here.
Dave Orifice. Dave, you're
Here.
there somewhere. There you go. Some ground rules. For presenters and applicants listed on the agenda, the chair will invite each speaker or applicant on the agenda by name to make a presentation and speak to their application. Participants will provide their full name and hold until the name is called. Each speaker will be asked to mute their phone or computer when not speaking and to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Those responding will be asked to wait until the floor is yielded to them by the chair. Speakers who wish to respond to the comments of others do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Each vote taken by the commission will be conducted by a roll call vote. For items with public comment, after all members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. By phone, dial *9 to raise your hand and wait to be recognized. Please note that part of your phone number will be visible to those viewing the meeting. By Zoom, click Raise Hand on the bottom of your screen and wait to be recognized. The chair will ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, the chair will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing via the Northborough Remote Meetings tab on the town's website. Dan, you're up.
All right, here we go. The meeting will include the following hearings pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Northborough Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and/or the Northborough Stormwater Management and Land Disturbance Bylaw. Notice to amend the Northborough Policy on Conservation Land, Allowed Land Uses. Last updated November 13th, 2000, to consider allowing Class 1 e-bikes and allow deer hunting on all conservation land, subject to all other state and federal requirements. A request for a determination of applicability, Otis Street Bridge over Hop Brook. The applicant, Scott Charpentier, Northborough DPW, to replace support structure for existing water line on the bridge. Jurisdiction is bordering land subject to flooding, riverfront area, 100-foot buffer zone, 25 no disturb setback, 35-foot no structure setback. Next, request for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. Church Street culvert, 200 feet west of Fay Lane. Applicant is Scott Charpentier, the Northborough DPW. The request is to confirm wetland resource boundaries of bordering vegetated wetlands, bank, riverfront area, bordering land subject to flooding, and 100-foot buffer zone. The jurisdictions all regulated wetland resource areas. Next, notice of intent application for Church Street culvert 700 feet east of Fay Lane. The applicant Scott Charpentier, Northborough DPW, to repair a failing culvert. Jurisdiction, land underwater, bank, bordering vegetated wetland, bordering land subject to flooding. Riverfront area, 100-foot setback, 25-foot no disturb setback. Next, notice of intent application, Howard Street culvert 700 feet south of Washburn Street. Applicant Scott Charpentier, Northborough DPW, request to repair a failing culvert. Jurisdiction, land underwater, bank, bordering vegetated wetland, bordering land subject to flooding, riverfront area, 100-foot buffer zone, 25-foot no disturb setback. Next, notice of intent of application, School Street Bridge over Assabet River. The applicant, Scott Charpentier, Northborough DPW, requests to construct new support structure for relocated water line next to bridge. Jurisdiction, bordering land subject to flooding, riverfront area, 100-foot buffer zone, 25-foot no disturb setback, 35-foot no structure setback. Finally, notice of intent application for 23 Meadow Road, map 94, parcel 37. The applicant, Matthew Hubbard, requests the construction of a new standalone accessory dwelling unit. Jurisdiction, riverfront area, 100-foot buffer zone, 25-foot no disturb setback.
Very good, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done. Okay, meeting minutes from March. Sadie, I think you need to recuse yourself from these. You were not here last month, right? Okay, meeting minutes. We do have a quorum still. Any questions, comments, concerns on the March 10th meeting minutes?
No.
Nope. Everybody's good? We need a motion to accept them.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Meeting minutes are approved. Okay. Vinny, we're gonna go. We'll get Scott on here. Let me see if I can bring him in. Scott, I'm promoting you to panelist.
And then this is the team for the bridge, or the bridges.
It's the bridges, right? Let's start with Scott.
Thank you for the promotion, Mr. Chairman.
There you go. Scott, who else do you need in here?
Well, I thought maybe if it pleased the commission to do the two bridges first,
Yep.
RDA, NOI,
Yep.
and then we can go to the three culverts and RAD, and then go through the two NOIs, if that's okay. That'll keep it efficient with the consultants.
That's fine. That's fine. I've got a hand up, a Chris Frattaroli.
Yes, he's from Goddard Consulting. He would be the a professional wetland consultant for the two bridges.
Okay. We'll bring him in.
Thank you.
Any second now. Hey, Chris.
Good evening, folks. And I believe we may also have a Spencer McKinnon from the Engineering Corp.
Spencer McKinnon.
Yes.
Okay. Promote him.
Beautiful.
Good evening.
Hey, Spencer.
Hello.
All right. Scott, we did take a walk when we did site visits this week. We checked out all the sites. So we're here pretty good idea. And Vinny probably has some pictures too, or we may have some pictures with the other folks here too. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commission. So we're starting out with the RDA on Otis Street. The Mass DOT does bridge inspections for all of the bridges in Northborough every 2 years. We've received recent bridge inspections that have shown the utility bridge, which is on the upstream side, the dam side of the Otis Street crossing. This is right by Bavarian Farm. You go around that sharp curve. The dam is on the spillway's on your right-hand side. That's where the bridge is. there is complete through corrosion on the web of the beam. Determined it's absolutely needed to be replaced. That water main serves all of Lawrence Street and Walmart and the businesses up on Otis Street. So it's a critical piece of infrastructure, and there is no redundancy. The project proposes replacing it relatively in kind. This is the easier of the two bridge replacements for utilities. We have with us Chris from Goddard and Spencer from TEC. Chris, I'm not sure if Spencer wants to take it from the technical side.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a little presentation we can walk through real quick. All right, can we see my screen okay?
Mhm.
Beautiful. Oh, as Scott was saying, we are here on Otis Street. We have Armino's Coffee Roasters and Barbarian Farms. We have the Bank of Smith Pond on the sort of southwest side of the road here. We do have a little bit of a fringe BVW on the downstream side on the east side of the road. And Smith Pond kind of channelizes and flows under the road here as Hop Brook, and it has an associated riverfront area. We are, as Scott said, replacing the supports for that water main along the bridge that is on the southwest side of the road here. And I do just want to note we're working in kind of a mowed and maintained road shoulder area here, no significant vegetation removal going on. The photos, here we are, Smith Pond on the right with the bank. And if we can see my cursor here, just on this side of this tree and fence, we channelize and flow under the road. Here's that utility line. The smaller of the two is a gas line. The bigger of the two is the water main. And this is the structure that will be getting repaired as part of this project. And then on the gradient side, as we flow downstream, we do have a little bit of a fringe BVW here with some cattails, but that is not really a controlling point for anything that's going on here. As far as the project, the vast majority of the work is really just on the support structure itself. So, repairs, some temporary supports, including some timber bracing, some strapping to support that water main line during reconstruction here. And we have a couple of two concrete pads on either side of this crossing here that are temporary and will be removed, and those areas seeded upon completion of work here. In view, this is what it looks like here. Otis Street, Hop Brook flowing south to north-ish. Two concrete pads here on the left and here on the right. They measure about 10 square feet each. Again, temporary to be removed upon completion here. Really all of the work is on that support structure for the water main line. We do believe this is an exempt activity. Under the Act, it's pretty cut and dry. Activities conducted to repair, but not substantially change or enlarge a structure used in service of the public to provide electric, gas, water, etc. Pretty clearly exempt under the Act. Under the bylaw, you folks incorporate a very similar exemption with the additional stipulations, essentially, that the commission be notified prior to work and we comply with the performance standards. So that relevant performance standard from the bylaw is that no foundation, building, road, sidewalk, or other permanent structure shall be placed within the resource area here being the riverfront area primarily. Just to note, again, no permanent structure here. All of it's coming out after the work completion, those two concrete pads. The only real work, again, is to the support of that water main line. So we wanted to, believing that we are exempt here, but we did still want to come to you, give you the courtesy of running this past you folks and getting a negative determination here. So that is the gist of this one. I'm happy to share, the plan if we have any other questions, and we can talk through that.
Very good, thank you. One quick question I have is, was there any risk of anything dropping into Hop Brook during the process? piece of rotted pipe, anything that might be a problem?
We don't really have any major concerns about that. I know that TEC will be kind of on board with the contractors as the work is being performed, so we'll be keeping a close eye on that to be sure.
Okay. Good, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Concerns?
I'm good.
Okay. I have a hand up. Got a Michael Horgan. Michael, you can unmute your phone and
Yep. Can you hear me now?
yeah, perfectly.
Yeah, I'm sorry to jump in on this hearing, but I just wanted to clarify. We're actually, there's a number of us here for another hearing that's on the agenda for 3, 7, and 11 Reservoir Street. But I did not hear Mr. Clark mention that project when he was listing the projects at the beginning of the meeting. Is that going to be covered in this meeting, or it's on the agenda, but I didn't hear it mentioned?
Right. Well, it's a continuation. That's why it wasn't mentioned.
Oh, it's going to be a continuation.
It's a
Okay.
it opened up several months ago.
Yep.
Vinny, do we know, is that a continuation again?
They requested a continuance just yesterday.
Yeah. So we will vote to continue it sometime later on tonight, and it'll be on the May agenda.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see the continuation on the agenda, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, where were we? Any questions, concerns? There's no public questions about this. Vinny, what's your position? You're good?
No, I think it's good.
Yeah.
It was a thorough application. Everything was put together well. We'll get a notice before they start construction, make sure everything stays out of the brook. I think they've got a good design team
Yep.
and the contractor hopefully will get selected and we'll work through it.
Good, good. Do we need a motion to close the hearing on Otis Street over Hop Brook?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
Sadie Stone. Sadie, you there?
Yep, sorry.
You're
I'm
muted.
here. Yes.
Yes, a yes vote from you,
A yes vote for me.
and I vote yes also. So the hearing is closed. So now we're looking for a negative determination with no special conditions, right? Are you going to be notified before work starts, Vinny? That's key.
That's all. Yes.
Okay. So that's
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay. All right. Moving along to School Street Bridge. What were the asks of it?
Yes, that one's going to be me as well. Give me 1 second to switch gears here. Apologies.
Mr. Chairman, so again, Mass DOT reviews all of our bridges and does biannual inspections. You'll see apparently you guys did site tours. The sidewalk is closed there. The sidewalk closure was at the direction of Mass DOT. The support beams for the sidewalk are compromised, so we close the sidewalk immediately. That sidewalk structure actually supports the water main that crosses over and feeds drinking water to the entire Juniper Brook neighborhood. We reached out to Mass DOT, said, is there an opportunity for us to just repair the sidewalk or cut it off and put in, a new utility bridge? Mass DOT said no. You either, repair the entire bridge or you relocate the water main. So the decision was to relocate the water main to the other side. The process in doing that, a couple new foundations, new bridge crossing, the cut over will be done in minimal impact to the neighbors. The design has gone before the conservation agent a couple times. We went back and forth with some comments. So it's again, it's a minimal impact. It's 2 new foundations and a new bridge on the other side. But we thought it pertinent to come in with a notice of intent filing to make sure your concerns are addressed.
Okay. All right. Any presentation on this one?
Yes, sir. I will get that pulled up. All right. So similarly, as Scott just walked through, kind of same idea, but instead of repairing it in kind, in this situation, we do have to relocate. Our work area is here at School Street where the Assabet River crosses. We have a bit of a fringe of BVW on the south side. Obviously, the Assabet River itself, perennial stream, and its riverfront area. We do also have some BLSF here, the floodplain. We also have your local bylaw buffer zones, 25 and 35 feet. So here's a photo looking along the road here, Assabet River flowing under the road, left to right. That sidewalk structure that Scott had mentioned deteriorating. It's closed right now, and that water main is supported below that sidewalk structure. And then here on the right side of the road, we have kind of where those concrete pads are going to go to support this new crossing for the utility span here. So we have essentially one footprint of one pad here and one similarly on the other side. In profile view, this is essentially what it looks like. River down at the bottom here, pads on either side, and tie-ins on either side of those pads. We're showing erosion controls, a little bit of rock fill, which will get sort of top dressed and seeded at the end of the day. And our only permanent impact here is these two concrete pads. They measure 6 by 4 each, 24 square feet each. That roadway is going to get resurfaced because obviously we have to tie into utility lines under the road. And then those disturbed areas kind of along the road shoulders will be seeded upon completion. Kind of in schematic view, this is what we're looking at. Blue being the Assabet flowing south to north, little fringe of BVW here. The roadway itself in gray, our erosion controls highlighted in red. Two concrete pads shown as purple here, and the span itself in this teal color. One thing that we do have to take into consideration here is the stream crossing standards. We're proposing a new stream crossing here, obviously. So there are 6 standards that are set forth in those stream crossing standards. Number 1, type. They offer the there's a general and an optimum standard. The optimum standard is using a bridge, which is exactly what we're doing here. Embedment, we're not talking about embedding any structures into the banks or the land underwater here, so that's not really applicable in our case. The two main ones are going to be the span and the openness ratio. So span, we want to make sure that we are at 1.2 times the bankful width. The bankful width in this location is about 20.3 feet. So we would want to provide at least 24.3 feet to make sure that we're spanning that bank thoroughly. And we've provided 63 feet of bankful span here. So far and away exceeding that standard. The next is the openness ratio. So our crossing here, if we just take a peek back at our section, is this number, 305 square feet. The length of crossing, it's a very short crossing. It's less than 2 feet. So we're providing an openness ratio of 183, which again far exceeds the standard for the optimum ratio of 2.46. So again, far and away exceeding that standard. We're not proposing any alteration to the stream substrate, not touching the stream, land underwater in any way. And then similarly with water depth and velocity, no changes expected to the water depth or velocity here. We are proposing this project as a limited project. There are several outlined in the Act, but the gist of the limited project is that notwithstanding the sections of the Act for bank, BVW, land underwater, land subject to flooding, riverfront area, and the wildlife habitat evaluations, the issuing authority may issue an order of conditions and impose such conditions as will contribute to the interest of the Act, permitting the following limited projects. Similarly to the previous one, we have construction of underground and overhead public utilities, such as electrical, communication, sewer, water, natural gas, in accordance with the following general conditions and any additional conditions deemed necessary. So those conditions would be the issuing authority may require an alternative route. We really don't have an alternative route here. This is really the only way into that Juniper Brook neighborhood. Best available measures shall be utilized to minimize adverse effects. So we're proposing pretty thorough erosion controls around the whole work area. Surface vegetation and contours shall be substantially restored, which is exactly what we're proposing here. We have those 2 concrete pads. That's the only permanent alteration here. Everything else will be restored and seeded with a nice native seed mix. And we're not talking about sewer lines, so number 4 is not applicable. Under the bylaw, section 3.2 states that previous section of the act that I just mentioned indicates the commission has the authority to issue permits for limited projects, provides another little piece providing some additional requirements for driveway and roadway access crossings, but nothing additional for utilities. The performance standard under the bylaw would be, again, no foundation building, road, sidewalk, or other permanent structure shall be placed within 35 feet. We are within that 35 feet here, but we really have no alternative to doing this work. Our impact has been kept as minimal as we can make it, only 48 square feet of permanent impact, no tree or shrub removal. Again, we're just working in kind of a mode maintained road shoulder here. Our work area has been kept as small as we can, and the vast majority of that work area is going to be restored with a native seed mix. Again, there's really no practical alternatives, and we're using erosion controls to minimize impacts to the greatest extent that we can. So that is how we are looking at this in terms of limited project, and we can take a look at it in plan view if that is. But otherwise, we're happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Chris, you're how close are you now? You're within the, what was it, 25 feet?
Yeah, so we are within the 25 feet, yes.
What is the current structure? How far is that away?
It's really right at the bank. So we can see if we zoom in a little bit here, my bank flags are these 2 circles here where the green lines terminate. And that is right up against it on both sides. We're going to be bumping that out a little bit on the other side of the road here.
The bridge abutments are the utility support abutments. So
yes,
you know the waterway is channelized, and that's exactly where the bridge abutments are. So we're, I don't know, twice the span, maybe 2.5 times the span that it is now.
Okay, all right, good. Vinny, how are you? Any questions you have?
No, as Scott said, we went back and forth once or twice. There were a couple of minor things, but I think they did a good job. They're spanning it with a bridge. Really can't ask for anything better than this.
Okay. Any questions from the commission?
I have one.
Go ahead, John.
Scott, is there any water supply redundancy going to the Juniper Brook neighborhood on this one? You mentioned on Otis Street there isn't any, but here, is there a redundant supply?
No, there is not. We
Thank you.
have dozens of residents that would be out without safe drinking water if this line was to go down.
Yep. And how long is the downtime going to be for? What is it projected time?
The water service downtime would be a day. You do both switchovers. Everything is dug up, ready to go. You shut it down. We notify all the residents with a mailing and door hangers, and then it's, you know, everything's in place. It's literally two valves and 2 elbows.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions from the commission? Looking for attendees. I don't see any hands up. So Vinny and Scott, the only issue I have with this one and the next 2 is that we do not have DEP numbers yet, which usually is a full stop for us. We really can't go forward until we hear from them.
Right. The DEP policy is not to close the hearing because they may raise a couple of questions. I don't know that they would on this one. I think we have everything addressed. The commission just has to confirm that they're waiving the 25-foot no disturb and the 35-foot no structures. But other than that, I think the commission is, even with that, I think the commission's okay with it, but we need the DEP number.
Yeah.
So the construction funding for this is at town meeting in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And because it's a borrowing article, we would not be allowed to utilize those funds until after July 1st. If the commission was willing to adopt conditions and wait for the DEP filing, that's fine. If you want to wait till your next regularly scheduled meeting to close the the hearing, or to close the hearing now and adopt the conditions thereafter, we're not going to do anything until after July 1.
Well, I don't want to have you, bring all the resources back again for a short meeting. So I wonder if we went through the rest of them. So we have this group of 3, presuming that the commission votes yes on all of them, we then keep the hearing open. Next month, hopefully we'll get DEP feedback. We can quickly run through that and then go from there.
I'm always happy to come back before the commission.
And we enjoy seeing you, Scott, too. So.
It keeps me away from a select board meeting on a Monday.
We can give you a pass too if you need one. You have to come back on notice.
Those are highly valued too, let me tell you.
Yes.
Okay. So we just want to take a pure continuation, but we'll still go through the full presentations?
Yeah, I think that probably makes sense. I mean, if we, as long as there's no major comments from DEP, which I'm really not expecting, if the commission's pretty much all set with it as is right now, I think we would probably just continue this one until your next hearing, and then we can put the bow on it at that time.
Okay. Sound good for the commission? Anybody have an issue with that approach?
No.
It's good. Okay. Then we need a motion to, no more questions. We have no public comment. We need a motion to continue the School Street Bridge over the Aspet River NOI.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Until May 10th, May 12th.
Until the May 10th meeting.
6.
May 12th, isn't
Yep.
it?
May 12th at 6.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So who's leaving us here?
Not me.
No, you're here.
Got 2 more, 3
Is
more.
Is Chris sticking around? Or is Chris and Spencer sticking around?
We're
No, they go.
we're dropping off.
You're dropping off. Okay, thank you.
Megan and Scott Jordan, please, if you could promote them
Okay.
from Ecotech and Woodland Curran, respectively.
I see them both. Megan, I'm promoting you, and Scott Jordan promoting you.
So again, Mr. Chairman, it'd be nice if we could take the ANRAD first and then go through the 2 NOIs, if that's
Certainly.
pleasing to the commission.
There's Scott.
Good evening.
Good evening. And there's Megan.
Hello, all.
Hi, Megan. Thank you. Okay,
We'll start with the ANRAD. That's okay.
that's fine.
So we have, I'll give you a more overall encompassing description. We have 3 culverts that are all built in the same era of the same materials, conveying the same waterway. One you'll hear, the NOI for Howard Street. The next one is downstream of that, Church Street, closer to Fay. And then farther north on Church Street is an ANRAD that we're here to discuss today. The first 2, Howard Street and Southern Church, those culverts have failed. We're going to hear those shortly. The one north on Church Street of Fay, that one has yet to fail. Same era of construction, same materials of construction, same waterway. The expectation, unfortunately, is that we will have to work on that one eventually. So as long as we're out there surveying it all, flagging it all, we might as well get those resource areas established, so that in the next 3 to 5 years, when I'm back before you with an NOI, at least the flagging has been established. So that's how we got here today, at least with the first hearing. Mr. Scott Jordan, you hung some flags for us on Church Street, did you?
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Megan, you don't have Church Street West plan queued up, do you? If not, I can pull it up.
No, I have the other two, but I can grab it real quickly if
Do
needed.
you have the current version? Thank you.
Just give me 1 minute. I apologize.
One of the culverts was repaired with, the galvanized wrinkled metal window wells for your basement.
We saw that.
Yeah.
Yes.
They work great. You flatten those up, they wrinkle right on top of each other. You self-tap a few screws in them. Be amazed.
Little Rube Goldberg action there. Okay, here we go.
That's supporting Church Street.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, so Scott mentioned we delineated this particular culvert area within the vicinity of it, just in anticipation of some future work. I think folks said you had seen these sites.
Yep.
This is fairly easy flagging. This is toe of fill. Basically, we have a wooded / shrub swamp at the toe of fill, shown with the purple wetland boundary. That's our BVW. And we delineated a little bit of the Howard Brook, which is a perennial stream. We delineate the bank and mean on the high water line. They coincide, which is often the case. And that's shown with the blue boundary there. So we're just seeking a review and confirmation of those boundaries get those set in stone for 3 years for potential future work. I'm not sure if you had any questions on those delineations, or if Vinny had seen it, you want to meet me out there, whatever, I'm happy to do that. It's
No,
pretty
we looked at them on the
straightforward.
site visit. I mean, they look very good to me, but
Yeah, pretty
John and
straightforward.
Vinny were there too.
Yes, we were there. I had no problems. Like you said, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the commission?
I don't have any questions now.
Again, this is an ANRAD. No public comments. Scott, same thing here, right? With no DEP number?
That's correct. I have yet to receive a DEP number
Okay.
on any of the 5 hearings we're in front of you tonight for.
We're going to continue this to May.
Right.
Okay, we need a motion to continue the Church Street culvert ANRAD.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Lady Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay. Two NOIs.
Would you like to stay on Church Street, Mr. Chairman?
We're there now. I might as well stay on the road.
Fantastic. So we've had a couple culvert failures.
Hmm.
One most recently, this past 2024. That was the Church Street culvert. We excavated it, found to be what you're seeing now, corrugated metal pipe failing along the along the scour line. There was some joint separation on it. We excavated the road. You'll see it clearly. There's a big patch where we fixed it as best we could. And as soon as we saw that, things connected between the Howard Street culvert, same construction. This one, same construction. We mobilized our engineers, our surveyors, and professional wetland scientists to go forward. The proposed project includes structural pipelining, which is a trenchless technology. I think it's an appropriate use at these locations. It's minimal impact. You gain structural capacity. We've had both culverts evaluated by 2 independent cure-in-place pipe contractors that said it is a viable approach. Obviously, it requires a coffering condition and a dry condition in order to do the work. But we have with us again Scott Jordan and Megan McDevitt here from Wood and Curran to walk you through the process.
Yeah.
Scott, do you want to just talk about the resource areas first, and then I can talk about the lining?
Certainly. Yeah, so it's very similar. This is just down the street. So we have boring vegetated wetland boundary shown in the purple color. There is it kind of does extend northward on the top left of the page. It doesn't follow the toe of fill in that particular area. The southern portion of the site, it is toe of fill. And the bank / mean annual high water line of the stream is delineated with the blue flagging on both sides. Um, the proposed work, and Megan, feel free to jump in. As Scott mentioned, coffer damming is required. 1 cubic yard sandbags, about 10.5 feet from the culvert at each end. And a turbidity curtain on the downstream side, that's page right, flows from left to right there. The stream itself on the left side of the page, the upstream portion, will be dewatered over the road. I believe it's going to be trenched into the road and then patched so we can travel over. And that's that gray shaded area over the road. The work area will also be bypass pumped through that similar area. That will go into a filter bag, and it should weep out of the filter bag through a series of stake straw bales to attenuate some velocity and do some additional filtering, and it should flow back into the downstream side of the wetland. There's a turbidity curtain proposed, I think I mentioned, on the downstream side. There there may be, we've conservatively estimated, I think, about 900 square feet of BVW impact, temporary. That is extremely conservative. All the machines will be up top. The slip lining procedure, I believe, is all machines will be up top, and they just force that thing through there. Feel free to jump in, Scott, if you have anything to contribute there. But I think any temporary impacts to BVW will be just from people walking down there. And, we have our coffer dam installation, our erosion control barrier installation. I think we're talking about just some smushed plants, essentially. We'll take a look at this work area when we're all done. And if anything needs to be stabilized or restored in any manner, we've proposed to take care of that. Similarly, for bank, I think we estimated potential for 115 linear feet of bank around each end of the culvert to be impacted. Again, we're laying sandbags over it, erosion control barriers, people potentially walking up and down through there. That's really the extent of it. So it's a conservative estimate, but we're aware there may be something, and we will go take a look and restore anything as necessary.
I will just jump in and add so as Scott mentioned, all of the equipment vehicles will be located up on the roadway. A small 8-foot by 8-foot temporary platform will be placed down in the land under water bodies. And that's just to have a spot to bring the structural liner down so that it can come down, and then it gets turned, it gets slid in through the culvert, it gets inflated, and then it cures in place, which takes about a day. The entire process for each of these individual culverts that we're talking about, so first Church and then Howard Street, is supposed to be a total of 1 week's time. So it's a day to get on site to set up your coffer dam, a day to dewater and clean out the space and set up the bypass around, a day to pull the culvert through, then a day to pull everything out after it's cured in place, and then a day to remove everything. So it is a really short duration that the disturbance will occur.
The work literally takes more time to prepare for
Sure.
and remove than it does to do. It's the least intrusive process to structurally rehab a culvert in situ.
Sounds it. Scott, would you want to do this at a low water period? And I would think, right?
Yeah, this would be like a July, August, September window
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah.
We've vetted this through multiple contractors, making sure what do you need for workspace, and then the next one, what do you need for workspace, and we've as Scott indicated, to be conservative, we've included the largest workspace needed of the contractors, and then a little bit just to be safe.
Just a non-jurisdictional question here. You're going to close down the roadway or at least one lane or something? I imagine you're going to have to do that, right?
Only during the bypass piping trench.
Just okay.
Yep. Other than that, it'll be a single lane bidirectional.
Yep.
So it'll be closed down but there'll be traffic passing.
Good. Vinny, any questions?
No, actually, as Scott said, this is the best way to do what he needs to do, and we need to repair that culvert. I did notice something that I hadn't noticed before, is those fancy fences, the gates that you have as the control of getting things in the inlet and the outlet. You're going to have actual screens on the inlet and outlet in the future when this is done, or you're going to reuse those beauties?
No, we're not going to reuse those. I'm still trying to out-engineer a beaver population. I'm working really hard at it, and I yield to their expertise still, but I'm going to try to beat them this time.
Oh, excellent. That sounds good. Good luck. Dan might have some good information on that. He's dealt with those guys in the past.
Yeah, I got my own problems with beaver. Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. All right. But I mean, that's things we can talk about separately, but that's one of the things that we want to, so it doesn't clog up. But again, it's in both our best interests. So I think we'll work together for that.
Okay.
Just one question, Greg.
Go ahead, Dan.
So it's interesting. I never heard this before, where you sort of essentially reline the inside. When you do that, do you lose any inside diameter on the culvert?
The internal liner, it's only a 1/2 inch thick, but it's a more smooth material. So total diameter reduction is 1 inch, but it's a more smooth material. So it actually allows flow to, no real changes in the flow or velocity capacity.
Mm-hmm. What's the material? I missed it. What's it actually made out of?
It's a polyfiberglass, imagine a tube sock dipped in goo that you put in there and you inflate and then hold that pressure. That's the best description I've ever had of it.
Okay.
You got a picture. Okay. All right. Good. Dan, you all set?
Yes.
Any more questions from the commission?
No.
Double check. No hands up in the audience. Same thing here, Scott, right? We're going to go ahead and extend or continue. And hopefully when you get the DEP comments back, after you and Vinny review them, we can see if you need any support for that second meeting or not. Depends on what's there, I guess. Okay, we need a motion to continue. This is Church Street, right?
Church Street. Yes.
Church Street culvert east of Fay Lane.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
John Johnson.
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes.
Pardon me, folks, that was May 12th.
Yes,
We're going
sir.
out to?
Yes,
Thank
May 12th. Okay. Howard Street.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This one was a bit of a different repair. We had a culvert failure. Again, this is right between Howard Street Cemetery and the Kaiser Cemetery. Culvert failed. That's actually the end that failed. And we excavated it and we repaired it with a shingling of mud flaps. It worked well. They're sturdy. They're thick rubber. And if you shingle them appropriately with some self-tapping screws, apparently it holds up for a couple of years. So it's doing its job, but it's certainly not a permanent repair. Again, it's the same construction era materials as the other two we discussed. There's really, if I showed you a picture inside the hole between the two, I could not tell the difference outside of being there. Same failure, same situation. It's the same mechanism of repair on the same waterway. So there's not a lot of difference between this and the prior discussion on the Church Street culvert.
Scott, I don't know if you mentioned it, but what years were these built, do you know?
Oh goodness. They're the corrugated metal pipe extensions you see were put in after the fact. These are bolted collar steel pipes. So this is generally in the World War II, post-World War II era, when, steel manufacturing was robust, and they're steel pipes, steel collars, bolts. The bolts rot and they separate, and we end up using mud flaps to fix them.
Wow. Okay.
Whatever's at the shop gets the road open.
So they could be 75 years old. They could be 70 years old or more.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Scott, you up?
Yeah, so with regard to resource areas, again, it's Howard Brook, same perennial stream. We do have a riverfront area that extends out 200 feet. It's not even shown on this sheet. The BVW, fringe of BVW on the bottom of the page in the pink, purple, and we have the bank meeting on our water line in the blue on both sides. Expansive shrub swamp, wooded / shrub swamp there on the top of the page. And it is the same exact procedure here as for the proposal. Flow is from left to right on the page. Exact same situation. We'll do coffer dams, 1 cubic yard sandbags on each side, pump around, set up a temporary trench with a temporary cover so we can get traffic over the road, and then dewater to a filter bag, straw bale barrier to slow it down and filter it. And we have similarly conservatively estimated 425 square feet of BVW that could get walked on, trampled. Bank, 120 linear feet potential for temporary impacts here. Just again, it's potential. Certainly don't expect that, but that's within the limit of work. Same exact procedure here.
The same thing, Mr. Chairman, with multiple cure-in-place pipe contractors, looked at the site, gave us their ideas on how much space they needed. We went with the largest of all of them, and then increased it a bit to make sure we're conservative.
Scott, do you know if you're going to use the same contractor for both?
Yes, we will.
Yeah. Okay, any questions from the commission?
I had one on this one.
Go ahead.
I know the area well. Scott or Megan, quick question. Where is the discharge going to be on the bag on this one?
On the, oh, go ahead, Scott.
There are some arrows indicating flow direction to the right of the bag there. That's the way the grades are pointing down slope, and so what is that, northeast, east? I forget.
Yeah, that would be
Church
east,
Street.
northeast.
Yeah.
Runs
Okay.
between our two cemeteries.
Those bags would probably be placed on some, it depends on, manufacturers have different specs. Possibly on aggregate. Again, that would help stabilize under the bag and prevent.
It's just the only reason why I'm asking about this particular one is because I know the area well, and it's pretty tight where the bypass is going to go by the road. So just kind of curious, when the bag of that size gets put in here on this one, how it discharges. That was my only concern.
I think we'll work with the contractor in the field to make sure we find that. We size the bag kind of conservatively. The contractor will size the exact bag based on what they actually need to maintain flows. And if we do target this during the dry season, hopefully that bypass flow will be lower, which means our bag size can also decrease.
Thank you, Megan.
I have staff at the cemetery every day, driving between Kaiser and Howard. I drive by that at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So we'll have eyes on it. Okay. Good. One thing I didn't see here, Vinny, is are we putting up erosion control devices?
Yes, there's a line pretty much around the perimeter of the whole work area.
The purple line. No.
No. There you go.
I see it there. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, these are our erosion, and then we have our turbidity curtains, and then
Right.
our straw bales where our dewatering is.
Right. Okay. I presume we have also those in the last ones we saw, but now we see that it's fine.
Yep.
Okay, good. Any question from the commission on this one? Any more? John
Nope.
had one. Everybody's good? No public comment. Okay, we need a motion to continue this meeting, this MOI. This is the Howard Street culvert.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Katie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is that it,
Commission.
Scott? Is that enough? That's good, right?
I think so. 5 more next in May.
Okay. Well, hopefully we can, get the responses in. Best case is very little to worry about. And if there's anything specific, maybe you can identify that you just try and manage costs, try and help out. So
I'll see you out town meeting.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Greg, do you want to just open the 3-7-11 to formally continue it?
That's next on the agenda.
Awesome. Thank you.
So continuance of stormwater management and land disturbance permit application for 3-7-11 Reservoir Street. This is within Sadie Stone's area. So Sadie's going to keep eyes on this for us.
Yep. Right down the street.
Right down the street. You still are working with the engineer to get some, well, I guess they did some soil tests. It's going to cause them to go back to the drawing board again.
Yes. Yeah. They found some soils that weren't what they first assumed, and they're revising their numbers. I'm really hoping they're going to have stuff to me shortly, so we'll be ready for the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We need a motion to continue 3-7-11 Reservoir Street.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Roll call. Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes.
And Sadie, have you watched the old public hearings for this one so you can vote in the future?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Vinny, I have this feeling we're just kicking the can down the road because we are.
Well, that 5 that we just did with the DPW,
Yeah.
I think they're really done. We just
Right.
need
We
to
just need
confirm.
to get the DEP piece in there, make sure we want to
Yes.
keep DEP happy with us. So,
Right.
all right. 23 Meadow Road. Now this one, I believe we had you're owed some information on them, right?
It came in at 3:30 or so this afternoon, but I didn't have time to review it. But they did send something, and I know there are folks in the attendees that will want to go through and talk about it.
Okay, all right. And also you got the DP number. But I was reading the minutes of one of the other boards or commissions somewhere, and they have a policy that anything received after a certain date, like if they meet on Mondays, anything received after, say, Wednesday or Thursday is out. Which kind of takes it off your plate because it's unfair to ask you to look at something, 3 hours before the meeting. So
I
anyway,
appreciate that. Yes.
just a thought we can on that side.
I second that.
Yeah, I mean it seems unfair to Vinny and
Absolutely. And the board.
right. Okay.
Right, because I try to get stuff out to you guys the week before, usually the Thursday or so, maybe the Friday, but you should have the full packet.
Yep. Yep. Okay, I'm going to bring in Tim Riley. He's got his hand up from Backyard ADUs. This is the first ADU in Northborough, right?
I think so. The first one I'm aware of.
There we go. Hey,
There's
everybody.
Tim. Welcome.
Hi, I'm also joined tonight by Brad Holmes. Is he
Yes,
out?
I see the hand up. I'll bring him in.
Fantastic.
Okay. And there's a Chris Lee out there too.
Great. Yep, he's on my team as well.
Want him? Okay, Chris, I'm bringing you in also. Okay.
Right. Well,
good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Okay. Thanks
Great.
for being here.
We're excited to kick this off. We're at Backyard ADUs. We're representing the homeowner. We're helping them navigate the design, permitting, and building of an accessory dwelling unit for their family on the property at 2030 Meadow Road. This is our second project in Northborough, the first in front of you guys. So we're excited to share all the details tonight.
Where's the first one?
The first one was on Summer Street.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of right near town there by the Cumbies.
Is it built? Is it up?
Yep. She moved in last fall.
Oh, okay.
And this one here today, assuming we stay on track, they'll be moved in so the grandparents can be with their grandkids for the start of the school year. So that's our goal. So we're excited to present everything tonight. We met on site last month with Vinny, our folks at Environmental Consulting, our surveyor, the homeowner, and ourselves. We had an initial submission. We've had several back and forths with you, Vinny. Thank you for all your help on that. I know this last round, just to talk about your comment, we got everything back from you on Friday. Burned some midnight oil this weekend to get everything back to you this afternoon, including the stamped PE plan. So I do apologize that came in at 3:00. We were working hard from your email on Friday to get that turned around. So let's jump right into it.
Tim, do you want to go over it, or would you like me to do that?
Maybe I'll just give a little bit of background to speak to some of the initial comments to say, hey, this is how we ended up here with our size and our location. And then I'll hand it off to you, Brad.
Great, thanks.
So here we are. We're building the largest size we can build ADU for the homeowner per the bylaw. Again, this is their home to move in, to be next to their son and their grandson and age in place. We're also proposing a one-car garage. It was important for the homeowners to, not lose some important aspects for them. So in our planning process here, this is the size we went to. One of our earlier comments that we got and some feedback was, hey, why did we put it here? This site is unique in terms of its frontage, along with what we have with the perennial stream and the vegetative wetlands. We're also working on this property with a drainage easement here along this property line and a drainage easement on the other side. So in conjunction with the existing structure and driveway, we ended up here being within the 100-foot buffer, but outside the 100-foot riverfront. And within that, we've done a lot of work to identify features on site that we will be mitigating that extend into the 50-foot wetland buffer, both in this area, and even after building the ADU, adding more impervious, we'll be leaving the site with less disturbance and a bunch of remediation within those two areas, the riverfront and the wetland buffer. Do you want to take it from there, Brad, and talk about how we got here?
Sure, thanks, Tim. Good evening, members of the commission. I'm Brad Holmes, professional wetland scientist with ECR. I know that Cameron from my office has done a lot of work and coordinated with Vincent on this. We did open this notice of intent for this ADU project a month and more, almost a couple months ago. So this is a continued notice. Over that time, as a result of a meeting that Tim mentioned, that we've been able to improve the project and include comments that Vincent had. You can see that we revised the mitigation plan to revegetate an area that has been used for composting. So that area that shows there with the proposed mitigation plantings is in the inner buffer zone, but it will remove that yard waste. Another proposed revision, since you've seen this, is that there's an existing gazebo with some walkways that will be removed and restored as yard area. And that the proposed ADU has been reconfigured so that it is able to have less driveway pavement and takes into account the comments that the site meeting produced. So that, yes, you definitely received the plan today, but the plan this afternoon was the result of a stamped engineering drawing, just the, I'm sorry, just the engineer's stamp on the plan. I believe these comments were reviewed and kind of discussed together, and they knew they were in the works. So it's a polishing of the plan that we as a result of the site meeting. So we're able to accomplish those additional areas. So it is a riverfront redevelopment project, so that it complies with those regulations. And I know that you've seen it already, so I'll leave it at that and bring it back to the commission. And I want to say thank you to Vincent, because I know that he was working along with Cameron to help this project along.
And I'll just jump in a couple more comments. We do have a DEP number. We did get comments back from them, and it was providing silt catchment at the street. So that has been addressed, along with the required signage within our buffer. I did make a quick overlay here just to make it very clear about the areas that we are remediating here in orange: the shed, the walkways, and this area that Brad described, the gazebo and pavers, all getting removed. We are coming in here and adding our ADU, but then we're leaving this entire area here, brought back with seed mix and the plantings to make it a more desirable area there and more protected. So with that, I'd love to get your feedback, answer your questions. There is one question. I was speaking today with Josh, the assistant DPW director, and we were deferring to him about what he wanted to see in terms of stormwater and drainage. So that will be part of our building permit. And from there, all of our comments have been addressed, and we'd love your feedback.
Good, thank you. How far are you away from resource areas?
We're in the resource area itself, being the riverfront.
Right.
But as far as the distance from the bordering vegetated wetland,
yep,
we're outside the 50-foot buffer zone. There's probably close to 60 feet or so.
Okay.
See, there's a little bit of grading. That area is all existing lawn now, so there really isn't a lot of disturbance.
Yeah, we walked the site last week, so we're fairly familiar with it on that side.
Oh, great.
So there's no waivers on our bylaws in terms of wetland size, and you're in the outer riparian zone, right? Or your outer riparian zone?
Yes, we're between the 100 and the 200.
Okay. Vinny, do you have any pictures? Or do we have photos?
We do. Not sure where. Actually, I want to address the question that I had for you, and I didn't read your response, but there was a question. You've got can you show where the sewer line is? This is the sewer line that was going to be, they're requesting maintenance to be done to mow it. And I just wanted to see where the sewer line was to make sure we're not planting trees that are just going to be mowed in that area in the next year or so.
Yep. So we've taken those from the record plans. This is the sewer line running through here. Our sewer line is running from the house through here. So again, these are the record plans, and what we have overlaid here.
And what's your planting? Your planting plan is there for where there's that. You said it was a composting area, but it's really yard waste dumping area. So
Yep, this plan shows it more clearly here. This entire area here behind this shed will all be remediated.
right. And so are you going to be planting any trees down in the area where the sewer is my question.
Our plan right here includes eastern white pines, oaks, along with some shrubs.
Yeah, we'll make sure there are no trees proposed over the sewer easement. That's
the answer. Good.
That can certainly be adjusted in the field.
Well, if you're going to have a certain number of trees, they're going to have to be somewhere else. So that's kind of what I was looking for, to have an idea of where things were going to go. So what I can do is, I actually think I have the photos up. If I can share my screen, if you want to stop sharing, and I'll pull mine up. All right, so this is the area it's a site, and they talked about some other impervious areas. This is the impervious, it's just a pathway. So there's a bunch of little paths, walkways, that allow them to access down to a gazebo. This is actually, do you now see a different image?
Yep, that's the pile, the refuse pile.
Yes, the yard waste down below the shed. And this is looking from that same pile of yard waste up at the shed, and then there's a little trail going up through here.
That shed goes out too, doesn't it?
Yes, they said that they're removing it. This is the area that is, the easement is right in, do you see my pointer? My cursor going across the easement?
Yeah.
So that's where the sewer easement is, somewhere in this area here, so that we don't want to plant trees in there. And I think that's understood. We just want some clarity on that. This area here is all going to be maintained. There's going to be no alteration, and they're going to be putting in probably 2 signs, one out there and one over here, to be a wetland boundary or wetland no disturb signs. This is the gazebo and the pathway to it that they're going to take credit for removing the impervious area out of the riverfront to compensate for their new structure. And this was more area within that was more to document the impervious areas at the site.
Mm-hmm.
And this is looking back down at the pile of yard waste and the shed. So those were pretty much and this is the back area. This is actually where the ADU is going to be located. So it's currently a yard. So that's good placement. They did adjust it a little bit to take advantage of that. So they did make a bunch of improvements, and it's not as though I think this is going to be a project that we're going to have trouble approving. It's just getting everything nailed down so we can approve it.
Tim, just a question: are these prefab units you're using, or you build the conventional building?
We build offsite modularly, and then our team on site finishes it.
Good.
And in this case, it'll be both the house and the garage.
Interesting. Okay.
Sometimes we'll stick build a garage, but in this case, it's all one.
So you do all the work off, then just haul them on slab? On a slab?
What we'll do, we use an ICF. In this case, with the grade change, we'll stack a couple courses. I think we'll end up being it'll be more like a basement in this case.
Okay. All right, good.
What's an ICF?
An insulated concrete form. So
it's like a 4-foot foundation?
They're like 18-inch blocks that will stack. So we have insulation on the outside and the inside, and then our rebar is poured in typical poured wall in the middle.
So Vinny, how are you in terms of information you received? You felt you've digested it? Do you need more time? Do you have any issues?
I was trying to get things ready for the other ones that I've had. And actually, they did say that this was before you at a prior meeting, and that isn't quite the case because it was an incomplete package. So you haven't seen this before.
No, we opened it tonight.
This is all new to you.
Okay, I apologize. I thought this was open. I know that we had submitted it and I thought it was presented, but my apology. I know that Vincent did get to meet on site and go over the issues, and
Right. And I think it's not that big a deal. It's just so that if people are thinking what they forgot, they didn't. So that's good.
Okay.
But I think what we do have is there were a few of the questions that I had asked I think it was the March 3rd or March 6th comments that didn't get addressed. I assume they got addressed in this one. It looks like they did. One being the DEP comment for the silt sack in the existing catch basin and extending the sediment controls around the back end of those by the gazebo, the work where you're going to be pulling stuff out and then replacing it with loam and seed, I expect. So I think it's all done. I just haven't had time to go through it.
I'd be happy to, I have all our answers from today, if you'd like to just go over them really quick.
I guess it's up to the commission.
How many pages of answers do we have here?
This is really quick.
Let's do it.
Just two. Fantastic. So this is the sediment control that we just talked about going around our entire, not just our area of work, all our remediation. So that's been updated and is there on the plan. There is a question about a walkway or steps to the front door. For fire code, we need a second form of egress. So we do have a front door out the house, but everyone will be walking in through the garage. So we don't have there's going to be no additional pathways to that front door.
There's no impervious. I mean, the question was more about impervious. I'm not so worried about your accesses, but is it increasing the amount of impervious so that you would need to offset more in the riverfront?
Great question. So we will need a landing for egress. We are required to do 1,060 square feet of mitigation. Our current proposed planting is 1,750 square feet.
Okay.
So we are above our existing. I'll defer to the building department on exactly the size of that landing that they will want to see.
Shouldn't be that big though.
Yeah, no, it's typically 3x3, 4x4. So that was addressed. The sewer line was the next one. We already went over that. Do you have any additional questions?
Well, that one you haven't gone over. You have it shown going through your ADU. What's the
correct?
How are you
it's
addressing
very deep underground there. So
so you're gonna leave it there and you're just gonna connect into it?
Correct. Yep. So that line will remain operational and we'll tie in the ADU basement where that is there.
Okay.
Our next question was providing some revised information from ERC, which Brad has done. You requested a PE stamp. That is why took us till 3 o'clock today to get this all done, but this is a stamp plan from the land surveyor and the PE for our building permit plan. The sediment control barrier, we just wanted the detail about that silt sock getting replaced if it's yep, exactly.
Yep.
I completed a construction schedule, so we have the entire sequence here of what we'll be doing. Pre-construction will be in this May. We will be digging and doing our site work and foundation in June. We will, the foundation and backfill. We'll be setting the house in July, doing our utilities. And like I mentioned at the start of this call, we're hoping to get them moved in, in time for school here in August and September. Per the requirements in town, I know that planting, has to happen in certain seasonalities. So we'll likely be in that second season there. Erosion control and maintenance, we'll have folks there mostly every day. And then I know we'll have post-construction activities, documenting the plantings, how many survived, et cetera. So we'll make sure to submit photographs and do all the requirements for you guys.
Well, actually, just before you get too far down the road, the only one I'm concerned about with the schedule is there something in there that you're going to notify me before you start work? Is that
absolutely
now included in it?
Yep. So we'll give you a heads up, and 72 hours, I believe, is what you're looking for. Is that correct?
48 is fine, but it usually works. And then the others on the other end is that you're going to need an as-built plan from an engineer and a certified list of any changes that were made during construction.
Correct. And I have that here. Yeah, we'll be doing all the as-builts. We'll need to do it for building, and we'll need to do it for you guys as well.
Yeah.
Previously, with that other iteration where we were rotated, we were going to be removing pavement in order to do some of the offset. We're no longer doing that with our plan. We are adding a bit here, but that's accounted for in our calculation. But we're no longer removing any of the existing that's there.
Okay.
The other ones here, we did not have that 25 and 35 foot setbacks per your requirements. So those are now on here on that plan. The do not disturb signs are now on there. This was addressing the DEP comments about the inlet, and that too is on there. Our green cards we have, and were submitted to you today. So those are all uploaded and scanned. And this is what I mentioned earlier. I was on the phone with Josh twice today. I haven't gotten his exact size. Our typical detail for any foundation is a dry well. So what I'm waiting for from Josh is to say, how big do you want this to be? But that's our standard construction detail. So those were all your comments, updated on the plans as needed or uploaded to you.
Can I go back to the sewer line real quick?
Absolutely.
Can't remember what the letter said. Are you building over a sewer easement or a sewer line?
The easement, there's a drainage easement up here and a drainage easement down here. This is just the sewer line.
Just so the sewer line only serves the primary building that's there now, right?
Correct. Yep. And we'll be tying
Thank you.
into that.
Yep, that's all right. Thank you.
Yeah, so it sounds like everything's been addressed. I can confirm it. And it's kind of up to the commission to move forward.
Vinny, I had one more. Excuse me 1 second, just last minute thought. Tim, real quick, the electrical facilities feeding this ADU, is it underground or is it overhead?
Yeah, let's see if we have this on our plan here. We're typically going and grabbing a new overhead service. We're going to go underground here. So we're going to go underground from the existing to our ADU.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering the location. Okay, I was just wondering if it was going to the street. It's not, it's going to the dwelling. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And where's the dry well going to come out?
Yeah, it will end up coming out somewhere downslope from our ADU in this vicinity that will be remediating, removing the gazebo, the impervious.
With the gazebo, okay.
Yep, and that will be subsurface.
Good. All right. Any more questions? The commission?
No, I'm good.
I don't see any attendees' hands up. So, Vinny, you're fairly comfortable with what's been provided here. We can move ahead. I don't want to move ahead if you ever any uncomfortableness.
They've been good about getting stuff to me. So my only discomfort is now we're talking about installing a dry well on a plan that doesn't show a dry well. So we're gonna have to revise the plan at some point to include a detail of the dry wall and the location and size and all that stuff and design. So we haven't done any soil testing to see if the groundwater is close to the surface. I don't have any idea. I doubt it, but there are stipulations for that. So maybe we can condition it that the design of the drywall be reviewed and approved prior to issuing a building permit.
That seem reasonable, Tim?
Absolutely. Yep. And that's why I was deferring to the DPW.
Yep.
We have, our team in-house will respond to their comments and make sure it's sized appropriately and done correctly.
Okay. So does the commission feel that we can move ahead and close and then vote on this? Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nodding heads, good. Okay. So let's get a motion to close the hearing for 23 Meadow Road.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
John Johnson.
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. Now we're looking to issue a order of conditions for 23 Meadow Road. Any special conditions, Vinny?
Well, we have the 3.5 pages of regular special conditions.
They've covered everything, yes.
Well, that includes most everything, which is good. It includes a note about the signs, so I'll have the signs as shown on the plans, assuming that those are in good spots. I think we had them for 26 feet off, so I think you put them in there. And then what we just said, that the plan changes associated with the dry well shall be submitted for approval prior to issuance of a building permit.
And you'll be notified prior to site work. That's already in there, right? Or is that we can note that? Okay.
I think so, yes.
Correct. Yep, it's in our schedule.
Okay.
And it's just approval by me. I think that was Todd saying, yeah, it's just me. You don't have to go back before the commission.
Right. Good. Okay. On the signs, just we have a site in town that we went and looked at this past week, and it's the site is probably, it's that site on Smith Pond, the construction, very, very small site. They have probably 6 wetland signs in probably a 30-foot area. It's like almost like a picket fence of wetland sign. So we want to make sure they're not too intrusive here, right? Because you can pick the spot out, Vinny, but you know what we're looking for.
Yes, I will. I think they put it on, I said 2. They've got probably, I think it's 150 feet. So I think we had 2 in that area, just where they're most likely to accidentally encroach. So there's a sign there saying don't.
Good. All right. We voted, didn't we already vote?
No.
No, we just closed the meeting. Okay, so I interrupted with my question.
It was a test.
I'm sorry. Okay. There are no special conditions. Now we're voting to issue the order. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
John Johnson.
Yes.
Lady Stone.
Yes.
And I vote yes. I need to make sure I don't interrupt myself in these processes here. So, okay.
And I made that motion.
You did, even though nobody asked for it. Yes.
That's right.
And I'll second.
Todd and John, yes.
Very good.
Our tag team.
Very good. Thank you, folks. Thanks for working with us.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening.
Good luck. Thank you. Okay.
Somehow I'd like to see that site when it's done.
Great. Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they do that. Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's an interesting piece of property, that side. So.
And if you want to take a walk with me during construction, I always welcome company.
Yeah, I think once the modular is up, I wouldn't mind a site review.
Sure.
Here we go.
Right next door to my grandma's house, actually.
Up on Meadow?
Yep. She's
Oh,
25
great.
Meadow.
Well, that is right next door. Good.
Yeah, that's a cul-de-sac too, isn't it?
She's right at the start of the cul-de-sac.
Oh, okay. Good. All right. Let's see here. I believe we now are talking about the policy on conservation land allowed uses here. Do we have any attendees? Any hands up? I don't see any hands up.
Mr. Horgan, it shows he's still there. So
Michael Horgan is there, Matt Hubbard and John.
Okay.
Jon.
Yeah.
I don't see any hands up.
Okay.
So I will wait and see. All right. This is a continuation of discussion we've been having around the edges a bit about the use of e-bikes and or deer hunting or all hunting on conservation land on this side. Currently, I believe we allow it on Pisgah for just a portion of Pisgah, right? For hunting.
About an 8.5 acre portion in Mount Pisgah that meets the 500-foot setback requirement.
Right.
And that's where it's only allowed on town property, but hunting is allowed in Berlin as well as on the state land abutting the towns of Mount Pisgah property.
Okay.
And that's a pretty significant portion, right? The state game lands up there.
Funny you should ask that question. Let me pull that up. Uh-oh. Tell me. Okay. So this is an image. This is the town line between Northborough and Berlin. And this is Northborough and Boylston over here. This is actually Sudbury Valley Trustees plan map for the Mount Pisgah area. And what we're talking about is this area here that's in the light green that is owned by the town. The area with the hatching is the state property to the south of it. And that hatching indicates that hunting is allowed in all those areas, but it's not allowed on town property. And this is Smith Road. So, and I think that's the Menser Trail, if you folks are familiar with it, and Sparrow comes up, I think comes around here somewhere. Could zoom in if you want. But that's the area around Mount Pisgah. What I think the discussion tonight is the idea of allowing hunting everywhere, anywhere. What I have also is the listing of the policy that was done in, what was it, November 2000. But these were the policies of hunting was only allowed at Mount Pisgah with permission of the commission and all those. And it was, we're going to discuss the idea of keeping this, changing it. It's kind of up to the commission.
Yeah, good. What are some thoughts?
Has anybody pulled a permit during the Vincent administration?
There has been no permit issued in my time or during Fred's 24 years prior
Or
to
during Fred's time?
Right, I checked on that. Right, so nothing. Because it's really, I mean, the
Well-
only allowable area is about, well, it is about 8.5 acres, but it's tough to estimate that if you don't have all the GIS stuff, and it's just tough to have an area that small to hunt in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought, Tom.
I was just gonna say, but is the reason you're not getting permit applications because of the policy, or just because people don't want to hunt there? I mean, we may not know the answer to that question, but it doesn't seem like the policy is the reason.
Well, I've only been out there like twice, but I did see sign of deer, and I mean, Dan, you're probably way better at that than I am. So I assume there are deer out there, but I know the policy is very limiting.
Yeah,
But is anybody? Now I am going to yield. I yield my time to Dan.
So I'm a strong advocate for either eliminating this policy or significantly revising it for several reasons. I mean, I've been managing public property for over 30 years, and I think one of the big take-home message that I've learned throughout my career is, particularly here in New England, and a lot of people have a strong affinity to the New England landscape and the forests, and almost all of our conservation land is forested for the most part. But I think a really important consideration is the long-term health and viability of that forest. If we appreciate the forest currently, I think we really need to be responsible land stewards and make sure the forest exists into the future, well beyond when we're here. And one of the known impacts to that longevity are the impacts of overabundant deer, high deer densities. And the way you have these impacts is primarily by eliminating or severely restricting deer hunting. There's really no natural predation that's going on here in Massachusetts to control deer density. So the only way you can really control them is through hunting. And instead of making it difficult to hunt, which I think is what these policies do, I think that's why you don't have any applicants, because any deer hunter, given these restrictions, is not going to go hunt there. It's just not worth the effort. or the headaches, or it's not very productive. So I would argue strongly that we should be encouraging or making it as accessible as we can to deer hunters in the hopes that those deer hunters can at least control deer densities, or at the very least, keep them in check somewhat. And if you ever want to know what happens to a forest when you don't control deer densities, I encourage you to go take a walk around the Sudbury DCR property in the Sudbury watershed. Gives you a strong indication of what the forest could look like with high deer densities and invading terrestrial invasive species. So I don't think we want our forest to head in that direction. I think this is a relatively simple thing we can do to try and prevent it. It still might not work, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. Typically, the feedback you get, well, is it safe? Is it safe? People are walking around on these conservation areas. And the good news is that there's plenty of evidence out there to suggest that, yes, that hunting and other recreational activities are very compatible with each other. There's really no instances of the public getting hurt by hunters. Typically, hunters shoot each other by accident. You don't get hurt because you're walking around in the woods during hunting season. And you can see this. I mean, SVT is opened up for hunting. DCR, the water supply, has opened up all their lands at Wachusett and Sudbury to hunting. Mass Audubon, I think, has actually started hunting on their property. So this is not a recent decision. A lot of large landowners are going in this direction. And I think it's in our best interest to follow suit. So I strongly advocate there are state regulations in place for hunting. There are laws that prevent potential conflicts. I say we follow the state laws. And if there's a property and it's within the legal limits of being hunted, then we should allow people to hunt there.
Dan,
Yes.
My recollection is shotgun season's only like 2 weeks during the December, the 2 weeks in December, first week in January, something like that.
Correct.
When is bow season?
It's a much, much longer season. It runs for several months, usually starting in mid-October through the end of the calendar year. So by design, it's designed to be a much longer season.
I mean, I generally, because I live on Mount Pisgah, I generally just don't go up there during shotgun season, even if if we kind of bound on the Fish and Wildlife land anyway. I mean, and it's not that intrusive to just stay out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, or I tell people, go walk on Sundays.
Or go walk on Sundays.
Yeah, you have one day every week where there's never going to be any hunting taking place. So, and I'm a strong advocate that they're compatible activities. A lot of people, I do it myself, put some hunter orange on because it's shotgun season and you can walk around. I've had plenty of experience being involved in deer hunting. And again, I can't think of an instance where the public has been hurt or shot by a hunter. I'm sure there are examples. I'm just saying that it's extremely rare.
Is the deer density in that area that's not currently allowed to have hunting is high? Do we know that density?
I don't know the density. I can tell you anecdotally. So I hike on at Edmund Hill all the time. And almost every time I go hiking, I see deer, and usually groups of deer. And again, based on my professional experience, if you see deer that often, just walking around the woods, it tends to indicate you probably have an overabundant deer population. But that's anecdotal. You'd have to go out there and actually estimate deer densities if you wanted a specific answer on how many deer are there.
Well, I'm just curious for that location on Pisgah, because there's so much other area up there that is allowed and open for hunting. I'm just wondering what the real drive is to open up that heavily trailed section of Pisgah.
One consideration too is when you have an area sort of embedded in a larger landscape where hunting is allowed, deer, and again, this is well documented in the literature, deer will actually move to the area where hunting isn't allowed during the hunting season and actually avoid harvest. So you're actually, in some ways, not only is you're not allowing hunting on your problem, but you're potentially contributing to higher deer densities in the landscape because your area is essentially become a refuge for deer during the hunting season. So if you allow every area to be hunted, then there's less chances of them seeking this refuge. So in my mind, another strong argument to sort of become more in line with what's going on there surrounding us in that area.
Hey, Greg, quick question.
Yes, sir.
When were these hunting policies invoked? When were these drawn up? I'm particularly drawn to the applicant must provide proof of a firearms safety course.
Well, this is 2000. This was done.
November 13th, 2000.
Yeah, the firearm laws have changed considerably in the state of Massachusetts. I just had to renew my LTC.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of find it funny where it says provide proof of firearm safety course, because most of us know if you've got an LTC, to get an LTC, you already have to have a class, have the course. And then I kind of find it funny that they're asking for that safety course, even for bow, because it says applicant must provide. So they are assuming that you must have a safety course for firearms, even if you're bow hunting.
Interesting. Yeah, these are a little bit antiquated, some of these.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't say we have to rewrite them tonight, but I'm just saying maybe at some point, maybe we should take up a revision.
All right. So we know where Dan sits. We know, John, I would guess you're in favor of doing something in terms of opening things up a bit.
Yes.
I would also be in favor of opening things up a bit. I mean, I just hear what Dan's thoughts are. I mean, would we still like notify Vinny that you were going to be doing it? Would there still be some sort of notification to the town, or is it just?
I can offer a suggestion. So what we've done, again, I work with, DCR. What we instituted at DCR is a hunting permit. So it's a free permit. Essentially, you just have to fill it out. It's good for 5 years. It allows you to hunt on any of one of our watershed properties, but it's just a way to document the hunters. It's a way to communicate with the hunters. If we ever need to reach out to them, they provide their email addresses and that sort of thing. You could certainly do something similar in the town if you wanted some sort of database of hunters. I think most hunters would be happy to do that. It's free. You can make it relatively painless to fill one out.
Sadie, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I tend to go back and forth about this. I'm curious, and I like hearing Dan's expertise on it. I'm not a big proponent of hunting myself, but I'm just curious about learning from the perspective of hunters and getting that kind of viewpoint on it. To me, it seems like there's a lot of other land available, and I don't know. I mean, like Dan mentioned, and all of you have mentioned, there's a lot of harmony in all of these activities kind of working together. But sometimes I wonder if we really need to have hunting available in those more recreated areas. I know Pisgah is pretty popular. And with bow hunting starting in mid-October and running through January, that's a pretty popular time for people to be out hiking in the fall. Is Pisgah open? You can bring your dogs there, correct? On leash.
Yes.
That's just something I always think about with hunting, even having yourself and your pets in orange and correctly marked, things happen. But I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. I don't know if there's a big collection of people really dying to hunt that portion of Pisgah that it should be
Well,
open.
based on our history, the answer in the last 25 years, no, but
But it was interesting to me I was curious if deer would kind of put two and two together and say, this is kind of a safety zone, let's stay here instead of being in the firing zone. So that was kind of eye-opening to me, but I don't know. I'm curious what the deer population is and if it's a problem there and what the desire would be for people hunting there. It just seems like a lot of kind of variables to balance with the amount of people hiking there during that time, in my mind.
Yeah, one of the things, I don't know if Dan can speak to this, but one of the other more accident-prone times of the year for hunting is turkey season. I don't know if Dan can contest to that. It has a lot to do with the amount of hunter orange that folks wear out there during turkey season, and that's more of a safety concern for others than deer season.
Yeah, that's usually when they shoot each other, the deer, the turkey hunters, because they're camouflaged in a lot of cases. So, I mean, it's certainly reasonable, and we've taken this approach on some DCR lands that you limit the hunting to deer. It's really the deer. And listen, I'm an advocate for all hunting seasons. I'm not intentionally excluding any particular hunter, but it's really the deer populations that have the impact on the forest health and regeneration. That you don't see these impacts from turkeys or squirrels, small game. It's the deer populations that, if you're going to allow hunting, it's certainly a reasonable decision to say, okay, we're going to open up to hunting, but it's going to be for deer hunting only for these reasons. And this is why we want to do it. So, which would eliminate, I mean, there's a fall turkey season, but for the most part, it would sort of constrain the amount of time that hunters were actively in the woods.
And Vinny, my recollection is that from the map you showed, hunting was allowed on all of the Berlin side.
Yes. Yeah. Hunting is allowed.
If you're up there hiking, you're going to be pretty limited as to where the deer are, where you're not going to be impacted.
Yeah, if you're hiking up a Pisgah, the chances are you're crossing into these other areas already anyway. So you're hiking during the hunting season on these other properties. So you might not even notice the difference.
would we want to consider limiting or eliminating places you can't hunt? My thought there is, I mean, Edmund Hill seems like there's a lot of trails there, right? A lot of people on Edmund Hill.
Well, it depends. I mean, again, you can there's a lot of flexibility. You can limit hunting on certain conservation areas to bow hunting only. I mean, I think a lot of people are more comfortable knowing that there's only bow hunting going on and not any firearms. The other consideration is most deer hunters, they're hunting early in the morning. They'll adjust themselves. The last thing a deer hunter wants is someone traipsing around and potentially disrupting their hunt. So that's why they can coexist. The hunters adjust, and I think you can have both activities occurring at once. But my point is, any regular hunting is better than no hunting at all. That's my opinion. So even if you wanted to restrict it because of the size of the area, because of, whatever reasons you wanted, you could certainly do that. And we've done, let's say again, we've done lots of different variations over the years on the types of hunting we allow.
I'm just curious, Dan or anybody, what's your experience with managing deer populations in other ways other than hunting? Excuse me.
Again, there's lots of literature out there, and usually the people, the alternative people look to first is, well, hey, is there some sort of reproductive control? And the short answer is firstly, it's wildly cost prohibitive. And even if you can afford it, it doesn't actually produce the results that you want. And there's a big giant study that was done out at Cornell where they looked at that specifically. So they actually captured females and sterilized them and then released them. And they did this for many years. And it still didn't reduce the deer densities to a level where they were starting to see less impacts. So the only proven, I mean, I assume we're not going to reintroduce wolves and mountain lions because that would be one option. The truly natural solution. Yes. So in the absence of any natural predation, the only way to achieve deer densities at a level that allow for this forest health to occur is through some sort of regular hunting mortality. It's the only one that's actually been proven time and time again. And these, I mean, you could listen, you could bring in sharpshooters. There are ways to reduce the deer density through mortality, but those tend to be either costly or less receptive by the public. And hunting, and listen, hunting's got its own problem. The average age of the hunter in Massachusetts getting older and older. There's very few younger hunters being recruited into the sport. So the long-term viability of recreational hunting isn't great either, but it's the best tool, I think, my opinion, it's the best tool we have right now to maintain deer densities at that level where we can see a reproductive forest and a healthy forest.
Yeah. I guess I'm just curious, and this is beyond should hunting be allowed on that portion of Pisgah or not? And I'm just more curious in general what the population of deer is there, just again, in general. But it does seem like all of these other surrounding sections that do allow hunting, and we're just kind of this roadblock in the center where we're not allowing it, could probably be a big source of frustration for a lot of the hunters who are in Berlin or Boylston and wanting to cross into Northborough and can't without going all the way around that section. So yeah, thanks everybody for enlightening me on hunting and deer.
Yeah, actually, Dan, question for you. Since we did have, well, the fire was 2 years ago now, right? Have you noticed any limits on the regeneration in the fire impacted areas just from deer browse?
I haven't done any sort of systematic surveys for browse. It's an interesting situation where typically fire will stimulate, particularly oak. Oak regeneration does really well following a fire. So I would expect to see lots of oak regeneration up there since the fire happened a couple years ago. But oak is also a very desirable plant for deer to eat. So it's a good question. I just don't have, you'd have to go out and do some transects. I mean, you could walk around and just make some anecdotal notations, but to really demonstrate, you have to do some sort of survey to see what was going on.
Interesting. I might have a summer intern. They send them up to do that.
There you go. Get some transects, do some, browse surveys. regeneration.
Dan, was there ever a study done where there was a ratio between a deer population and a coyote population?
A lot of literature out there on that too. Coyotes will prey on primarily fawns.
Right.
But they don't prey at a high enough level to actually impact populations.
Okay.
So deer are not coyotes' first choice of prey. They much rather tackle a larger prey base. But if they find a fawn, they'll certainly kill it and eat it. But it's not enough and frequently enough to actually limit the population.
No, I was thinking of it more of the other way. Does an increased deer population also increase coyote population? Because since I've moved here to Whitney Street, which I abut Edmund Hill, I hear a lot of coyotes here.
I just think that coyotes, like deer, are well adapted to suburban living.
Yeah, I guess.
And
Yeah.
there's plenty of pets and rabbits and squirrels running around everyone's backyard that's sustaining probably a fairly high coyote. I think they're independent of each other.
Okay, thank you.
So Vinny, in terms of moving forward, this is a public hearing. If we don't close on everything tonight, which I don't think we will, I'd like to hear also from Justin and Kelly. Do we advertise another public hearing, or can we say we decide to do something, and then based on that decision, we can just do it without having any more public hearings?
We can just continue to this just like our regular hearings. So we can continue this hearing and not have to advertise when we talk about it again at our next meeting. So as long as we continue it to our next meeting or continue it to a specific day and time and location, then we can discuss it and continue to discuss it without having to advertise it again.
Okay. I like to do a little bit more studying up on state laws. I think the overall feeling of this commission here is that this seems to be moving in the direction of doing something to open things up a bit. Some of this stuff here, the hunting policies that are there, probably 3/4 of those need to be eliminated or and then we can update, make it much more simple. But I've got questions about where would we allow hunting? What properties would we allow it on or not allow it on? Westboro does that with their properties. They have designated 2 or 3 specific properties the town owns for hunting.
Right. But the new one we got, that's the 1/4 acre down on Northgate, is definitely not
That's out.
a candidate for this.
That's out.
But
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just to jump in, the idea of, I'm not sure about getting a permit. I know it's not that onerous to get a permit from the town, but I'm not sure really what we would do with it. I would basically have a spreadsheet of the names and addresses and maybe a phone number of people, but I really don't see how it would be used and how it could stay confidential, as they say. And I don't really know the need, and the idea of giving them a permit for a specific day or 2 permits per day, or I think that's all going to correct itself if we're going to allow them to do it, it'll probably self-correct. The first day it might be busy, but they'll see that it's active. But then after that, I think it'll just work itself out. As Dan said, the hunters don't want to deal with other people. They're just trying to find deer.
So what type of hunting would we allow? When? Would we want to get the Northborough Police Department involved, at least give them the heads up that we're talking about this? Probably not a bad idea.
Yes, I can actually call, if we continue this hearing till our next meeting, I can ask the chief of police. I did notify the DPW director, and he gave me a letter. It'd probably take a while to find it, but he was enthusiastically supportive because he's had a lot of problems with deer strikes on the roads. People saying that there's an injured deer on their property, that there's just so many of them out there. They're impacting landscaping on private land as well as town-owned properties in the cemetery and all. So he was very in favor of opening it up to deer hunting.
Okay, good.
Now, I'll just add, all those are, again, a strong indication of overabundant deer when you start to have impacts like that. Just a heads up that if you continue this, I'm looking at my calendar. I'm actually out of town for our May 12th conservation meeting, so I won't be able to make next month's meeting. So if I'd love to participate if you want to.
Yeah. No, I'd like to have you here certainly for that.
Okay.
That's unanimous decision. So.
Right. So when's our meeting in June? I don't have.
That is June
9th.
June 9.
Yep. I'm around for that.
And Sadie will be counting the days till school's out on June.
Yeah, we'll be getting close at that point.
Okay. All right, so I guess we're going to take a vote to continue the discussion or continue the policy discussion for use of for deer hunting on conservation land. We'll come back to the e-bikes after that. Two separate issues. Need a motion.
I would move to continue it to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
To the June 9th meeting.
Well, we might, well,
Yeah.
that's fine.
We might discuss it. We
I'm
may
not
discuss it next month with a few things. But we're not going to make any main decisions, but
I'm
let's
just afraid that we
continue.
won't have the technical support because if Dan is not there, we're not going to have the answers that we might need.
All right.
June then.
Is there a second? Quickly.
I'll second June 9th.
Roll call. Dan Clark.
Yes.
Todd Helwig.
Yes.
John Johnson.
Yes.
Sadie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay. E-bikes. E-bikes on trails. I think similar questions. If we allow them, what trails? All trails, some trails? Do we allow them? I mean, what the DCR says no, right? To motorized vehicles in general?
No, DCR allowed. Oh,
No.
wait a minute. DCR watershed.
Yeah, we don't have them on the conservation land though.
Right.
Yeah, DCR water supply said no, but I think state parks might. Well, we allow them on, I think we'll allow them on roads, but not on trails. So we make that distinction. So.
And we're talking e-bikes only, right? Which I guess are minimally impactful. My only concern would be, well, I guess I'm mixing two things together here. I'm mixing this with 432 Whitney Street and the potential trail there, not having anything close to a ridge, with a motorized close to a ridge may increase erosion and trail damage down the hill. But
I did not go back and look at the videotape. For some reason, I thought we were okay with class 1 e-bikes.
E1s?
And that we recognized there was no way to really enforce it, but that seemed like a good enough place to have it.
Yes. So what I did was I pulled up some information. I provided it in the
Mhm.
packets. The idea that e-bikes, they have to be permitted by the local entity on natural surface tread trails. So this is what we need to do. The idea of what a class 1 e-bike is, I think you're all familiar with it, but it's just a electric motorized bicycle, maximum speed of 20 miles an hour, and it's pedal assisted. It just gives extra push for someone who is pedaling. It's not a throttled bike. So that's the smaller size, and it looks very similar to a regular mountain bike. The recommendation from the Trails Committee is to allow their use because they would have a difficult time enforcing it if we say they're not allowed, but it is your call.
Okay. Would we allow them on all trails? I'm thinking of the ADA compliant trail at the senior center, which is impervious surface.
They're allowed on that as a impervious surface.
Already.
They're currently already allowed.
Okay.
It's just the natural surface ones that they're
Okay.
not.
So we'd say just yes to them in general on all trails.
Yeah, I was thinking if they're open to mountain bikes, they'd be open to the Class E1 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Any-
agree. Just
Any
seems like
comments? Yeah.
just a bike that helps you pedal. So I'm not sure there's much difference between that and a bike that doesn't help you pedal.
It sounds like the people that are using the e-bikes are not exactly they're not the renegade downhillers, 90 miles an hour guys. These are, it's me trying to use one of those bikes. So it's okay. Any more thoughts, comments? Okay. So the consensus is we're going to say yes to use of e-bikes on all Northborough trails. Now, the Trails Committee may come back with something different. They want to eliminate some trails or exclude some. We can always listen to that. But I mean, for now, we're saying let's move forward. Yeah, nodding heads. Okay. Then we need a motion to amend the policy on e-bikes on conservation land in Northborough.
So moved.
Allow class 1 e-bikes on conservation land. Yes, on conservation land trails.
Second,
Second by Dan. Roll call. Dan Clark,
yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
Yes.
Katie Stone.
Yes.
I vote yes. All right. When I was talking to I think it was the Berlin folks about hunting. I call a few towns and spoke to their conservation agents or police force, and the one fellow I spoke to, I think it was Berlin, talked about how he allowed it everywhere. They're a hunting friendly town, and then talked about how he said we even have a disc golf course in town, and that's a great spot to track deer at. I'm thinking, well, I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Another compatible use. I hadn't thought. Yeah.
That's right. Oh boy. Okay. What else could be? We have forest stewardship services.
Forrest, your request for proposals was advertised as of last week, I think, and maybe even 10 days ago. So the request for proposals is out to the public. It's available on the town's website to put in your bid to be, if you're a licensed forester, to put a proposal in to prepare a forest management plan update to include the climate change and carbon sequestration issues, as well as creating 2 harvest plans, forest management plans. Actually, no, they're harvest plans for Mount Pisgah and one for Edmund Hill over the next 3 years. So and it also includes a lot of public education. It was the RFP that I gave to you folks for review 2 months ago. We have not gotten any responses yet, and as of today, I sent it out to 9 licensed foresters who were on the list of approved, whatever it is, climate change, carbon sequestration training. They've been approved for that training, so I sent it out to all the people who were not 413 area code foresters, because in the past we sent it out to a few of the 413 folks and they just said it was too far to go for work. But if anyone knows any others that they want me to send it to, I'm happy to do it. We'd like to get some proposals.
And Vinny, the grant money's still there, correct?
There is, well, we would have to apply for grant money, but it is definitely there, and the bids have to be submitted by noontime on May 1st.
Really?
Yeah, so I gave it a 3-week time frame.
Okay, so you can do some sort of tickler with these 9 groups after you'll hear from a week, send an email out to all 9 and say,
yes,
haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also use CPC funds, maybe.
Well, we have funds in the conservation fund to afford some of it, but we have to front some money to, well, I think we're not liable, but we can get community forestry grant money from DCR, and that you have to pay it first and then get reimbursed. So I think we would do one plan for the Edmund Hill, get reimbursed from the state, and then do the one for Mount Pisgah. That's for both trimming the dead and dangerous trees as well as invasive plant and invasive species remediation.
Good. All right. Anything
Another,
else?
yep, just because I got it yesterday, I think it was, or Friday. There was a notice sent out that there's going to be another invasive plant walk at Edmund Hill off of Meadowbrook Road, I think it is. They're going to do some pulling, bring your gloves and equipment like pruning shears and loppers and that kind of stuff. There's a group getting together. I think it's April. I don't have the date. I had that included. I don't have it here, but I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Or
Hold on.
just forward it around. You could just forward the email too, or something if you have an email.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else going on? Anybody have anything going on their section of the woods?
Yeah, I'm good.
So next meeting is May 12th. Dan is not going to be here. We know that. Anybody else have conflicts they know about at this point in time? No? Okay. Vinny, anything you have?
So, yep, I just pulled up that email and just so everyone that might be watching this, that it's going to be held. It's planned a meeting for Saturday, May 10th at 10 a.m. for a spring 2025 weed warrior invasive plant removal. And that'll be from Edmund Hill Woods. Meet at Meadowbrook Drive at 10 a.m.
Who's driving that? Is that the Sustainability Northborough?
They call themselves the Weed Warriors, but James Vanderpool and a couple other folks.
Okay, I've got
but those are blind CC, so that's all I've got.
Okay. I've got a hand up here. John, Jon. John, I'm going to let you talk. Just unmute yourself.
I just did so. Thank you very much. Listen, Greg, thanks. Thank you to all the commission for what you guys do for the town. I'm just kind of, I guess, putting the commission on notice. Thank you to Vinny. Interested in trying to do something to memorialize Tommy Beals. And so kind of interesting being part of these discussions tonight, or at least listening in. I think a Tom Beals memorial culvert would be a very appropriate memorial. Given his interest in hydrology, that would be, again, a great thing. I'm kidding here. I'm going to come back to you with a proposal. I've been in touch with Caleb, his son, and I guess the only question I have is if there's a more formal way I need to get on an agenda, either on the 12th or the 9th, please let me know. And like I said, I'll come back to you guys with some suggestions for review by the commission.
John, can you give us your last name just for the record?
Sure. It's John Cogswell, Cogswell, 483 Green Street, right in the heart of Pisgah Deer Country.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, I happen to be talking to you, just for Sadie's benefit, I happen to be talking to you from the North Fork of Long Island, where the density compared to what you Google Northborough at, which is 18 to low 20s, is 27 to 39 deer per square mile. And Sadie, the conversations about how to deal with this have run the gambit. So to Dan's great points, contraception is a foolhardy effort. And they're talking about bringing in sharpshooters and, opening bow hunting to private land and all the things that are going to really control the deer population because, again, no mountain lions and no wolves. So anyways, just to share that.
Good, John. Thank you. And just stay close to Vinny to get on the agenda for next month.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we know next month we hopefully will have we can approve all those DPW activities. We get the DP information in. We can get that probably approved and move on. But we still, let's see, we'll be able to, Dan will not be here, so we're going to make sure we have the 4 of us here because that's the 4 votes for that. Okay. Anything else, Vinny, before we close up?
No, our next meeting is May 12th.
Great, great. Okay, thank you all. We need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
Dan Clark,
Yes.
Todd Helwig,
Yes.
John Johnson,
yes.
Sadie Stone,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Very good. Night, folks. Thank you. Oh,
Thank
Dave,
you.
thank you.
Thank
Certainly.
you.
And also thanks to our technical support person, whose name escapes me.
Dave. Dave Orifice.
You guys.
Dave, we got him.
Yep,
Okay.
good night.
Good night.
Take
Bye.
care.